wind is trying to push me to the right, but the tide is so strong that the boat is crabbing to windwards under the power of this tide. Suddenly a very boring boat that beats in a very dull way is transformed because the tide's underneath it, and even the super slug begins to feel like a bit of a racehorse. And look, 32 feet of water, which is why it's running so strong. I'm beating in towards Abrahams Bosum. What a great name for an anchorage, Abrahams Bosum. You could invent an awful lot of stories to account for an anchorage called Abrahams Bosum. I could have gone the other way around the island, but all there is the shingle beach. I kind of prefer coming inland because the birds are better and the light's nicer, and it's wonderful. I'm beating here. Don't usually bother beating in this boat because the tide is so strong, which is making very, very good progress. Although we are slowly moving over to this lee shore, so at some stage I shall have to put the camera down and tack away. Beating very nicely.
And the name, Abrahams Bosum. It's from the Bible, the parable of Lazarus the beggar who lived at the rich man's gate. When he died, he was, as Jesus said, safe in Abraham's bosom. Although I should tell you that at the time, bosom meant lap, safe in Abraham's lap. Just as good an image, if you ask me. In recent years, it's been commonly used as a slightly mawkish platitude when someone had died, especially for some reason when it's a child. The sailors making a run through the fierce and capricious Ore Bar would come along the river, and this is the first stretch of water sheltered from every wind direction. Plenty of depth for even the biggest vessels to sit out a storm, but with shallow areas for smaller craft to shelter as well. For me, the Bible contains some great wisdom, but no book that long can be completely perfect, And it's the people who believe that every word is true who make me truly uncomfortable. But whoever or whatever process is responsible for creating this planet, just like the Bible, it's turned out to be a bit of a curate's egg. And you might just as well try to spend as much time in the good places as you can possibly get away with.
The tide is coming out around this corner. I think at the moment I'm in a back eddy because I seem to be sweeping along pretty fast. And I'm going to come around this corner, just where this post is, and stop dead, is my guess. Where the tide comes around the corner, kind of heads out to the other shore, and it creates a sort of vacuum behind, and you can quite often get picked up in quite a strong countercurrent running up the inside. But as soon as you hit that corner, then you're in the full force of the tide. So my guess is I'm going to come around this corner and then I'm just going to pretty much be stopped. In fact, I think I nearly have. So there's still a good breeze going, but this tide is really going fast. Going to have to put the engine on. Coming along here, down the Ore, they have been one of the most wonderful sounds. You just pass one, you'll pass into a territory and you'll suddenly notice that the skylark is peaking. And then it'll go quiet for a bit, you won't hear one. Like, now you can't hear a skylark now. And then you'll come back into a skylark, you'll suddenly realise that the main acoustic is the skylark. Beautiful sound. Seabirds generally don't make a nice sound. I mean, the gulls are horrible, the geese are horrible, the oyster catchers, they're not very good. But some of the more exotic birds do make a nice noise though. The curlew makes a lovely noise. But really only because the curlew is up against some lousy competition in terms of gulls. If it was a woodland bird, you'd think, oh, it's curious, and that was it. Great piece of coast though, been lovely.
The Ore, as it runs down the other side of the island, has a completely different feel. The bottomless mud is replaced with shingle banks. It even sounds different because you get an entirely different population of birds. Havergate Island, in the middle of the Ore, is run by the RSPB. Old men take turns at living in the huts and spend their days studying the gull colonies, counting every nest, chick, egg and corpse. They also monitor who's shacking up with whom, because gulls live for 25 years. Most of them mate for life, having marriages spanning 2 decades. Their daughters-in-law become neighbours. Disputes are breaking out everywhere. I'm told it's better stuff than anything the telly has to offer, and I can believe it. But even with a dream job like that, at some stage a man has to pick up a wheelbarrow and a shovel. But it would be quite pleasant of an evening, I reckon, to be a warden on Havergate Island, tucked up warmly in one of the huts, bottle of whiskey and a few fellow twitchers for company.
Gas bottles and rubbish bags. Now come on lads. Gulls will be in there pretty quick unless you move it. You don't actually think much of your architecture either. That could be a lot nicer, couldn't it, if you thought about it? However, I'm pleased you're here. Britain would be a much worse place without the RSPB.
Doesn't mean they always get it right, but by and large they're well-meaning and a fantastically useful group of people. Trouble with gulls is that they don't sound very nice. They have to carry a long way, so they're loud noises. And really the noises are kind of just a hooter for lots of these birds. And the gulls just keep it up all day. How noisy.
On the island there are places where the RSPB has taken down the sea walls to let the tide in. More mud equals more birds. Worth shoving the slug's bow through the small gap, I reckon.
There you go, quite a narrow gap. Now I'm on reclaimed land. I do like the gulls at this time of year. They like to hang around in pairs. Gulls just think it's kind of cool hanging around in pairs. Some of them stand closer than others, but as the evenings close on they get closer and closer together. They're very loving creatures, gulls.